This is the Great Legend, and I am coming at you live tonight, fans, to let you know, your Holy Grail is within your reach. Your Holy Grail is within your reach. It's only a matter of time. I'm going to check a couple things real quick. There we go. Fix a little bit of this, fix a little bit of that, because we are tonight we are live, and I've got a message for you tonight. Legend is going to be dropping some truth on you tonight in a combination video like any other combination, or actually no other combination you've ever heard of, you've ever seen before, because tonight we're talking Holy Grails. Your Holy Grail is within your reach. Now, first, before we get started in this monumental message of magnitude for all, I've got to check the chat, because that is where it is at tonight on youtube.com/rdowdy95. The legend is live, and in the chat, we got first in the chat, Rebel freaking Gaming, the man of a million nicknames, is here. His name is LP. He is the father and writer of Niobe, the hot new independent comic that is turning people black and blue all over the United States, Canada, Mexico, New Zealand, England, wherever you want to call it. LP Rebel Gaming is here. And another truth seeker in the world of comics and in everything else, I'm talking about Vincenzo C. Vinny C is here, because he knows what it's all about. And Vinny asked me earlier in a comment from a different video, if y'all didn't know, check it out, what will happen on September 23rd. And a lot of stuff went down. But to know what went down, you need to turn back around and drop it down on the rewind, and you're going to figure it all out for yourself through some internet research or watch some of my old school videos. Next up, we got a guy who's already in bed. He couldn't await the great one here tonight, because the moon is up and the sun went down, and just like he is, he's going down for the count in his bed because he's got to work tomorrow. And I'm talking Who Dat Comics and Movies. Next up, we got a guy that's been with me since 2011, 2012, 2009, and I'm talking Mr. Gretzky 9960 freaking 6. Next up, we got my brother from another mother. We share the same name because we sometimes do get a little insane. And I'm talking SS Comic Reader. And SS, you are correct, bro. The champ that runs the camp is here, right here with you live on rdowdy95. YouTube up in this place. Mr. Rockfish01, he's 5th. Wait, he's 6th. Hey, man, you might want to come back and get to number 7, because we all know 666. That's the wrong number to have. Next up, we got another guy. Is this guy looking for cheap pops, or is he looking for cheap pops? And I told y'all about him already. And this is Niobe Comic. Niobe Comic. Make sure you subscribe to the Great Legend Show. It's true. Oh, it's damn true. Next up, the Prince is here. Uncanny Kyle Waka. And Niobe Comic says, Waka, Waka, Waka. Yep, very true. Oh, it's true, true. And Rice Boy. Rice Boy is here as well. And Rice Boy, what is up, my brother? What is up? We are blessed to have 8 people watching us right now here live on youtube.com/rdaddy95, your home for comics, cooking, gaming, and the truth. And tonight's truth is, your Holy Grail is within reach. Your Holy Grail is within reach. Now, a lot of us here in the comic book community, when we're talking Holy Grails, we're talking big time books that we are on a mission to get, books we are on a mission to receive, books we know we're going to have to drop some coin and drop some cash down to get those books. Now, Holy Grail could be one of many things. Could it be all about that monetary value? Do you want a comic book that's worth a lot of money? Do you think that's the thing you want most in this life? Do you want to have a rich life? Do you look at life like, I can have a great life if I just have more money in my pocket? If I had more money, it would make life so much easier for me. I wouldn't be as depressed as much. I could get that lobster. I could get that T-bone steak. I could get the hamburger that has the bacon on it because you've got the bacon in your pocket. And when you got the bacon, you got the cheese. And when you got the cheese, you got the green. You know what I'm saying? Even though cheese is yellow and cash is green, it don't matter. You know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say. Think money, maybe a comic book that's worth a lot of money, will fulfill that that darkness. Maybe that comic book that's worth so much money will fulfill the darkness in your heart. That you need to fulfill it with a Holy Grail because that Holy Grail comic is finally going to make you happy. It's finally what's going to make you whole again. Or how about this? Maybe your Holy Grail isn't a book that's worth a lot of money. You know, maybe it's a character, that it's not a hard character to get. Maybe it's a character like Cardiac from The Amazing Spider-Man. Or maybe it's that character known as the ventriloquist and the Scarface dummy from the Batman books. Maybe it's that character known as Spider-Gwen, or possibly Deadpool, or possibly Harley Quinn. Maybe it's a character like that. It's a character that has appeared in the modern age. A character that is one of your favorite characters. You look up to this character. This character means something to you. This character fulfills something. Maybe this character entertains you. I don't have it with me right now, but New Superman, the Chinese Superman. I love that character. It fulfills me. I find comedic value in that book through the things that he gets into. I love it. It's great. It's funny, right? So necessarily your Holy Grail may not be worth a lot of money, but it is a character that you like. It's a character you enjoy. Let me check the chat real quick and we'll follow through with what I'm talking about here tonight. Your Holy Grail is within reach. Oh, you better believe it. It's true, like Uncanny Kyle Walker says. True, true. So this is the Great Legend Show coming at you live. Naomi Comics says, Mr. Rockfish giving the emojis with the peace sign. Waka is definitely in the house. SS, you, my friend, are the man. And next time, if Dallas Fan Expo is worthy enough to garner an appearance by the champ that runs the camp, by the great legend himself, you can find him here at youtube.com/r.e95. If you can't find him at the Fan Expo, you know he's going to be here. Just like Mick Foley right here in the great state of Texas. Thumbs up. I want a book for the history of it. And that's another, Mr. Rockfish, excellent point. Say you're not in it for the money, you're not in it for the character, but you want a book for the history. I talked to my brother, Reaper Tate 728, and I had a last lead on a showcase number 4. Showcase number 4, of course, being the first appearance of the Silver Age Flash, known as Barry freaking Allen. Excellent cover by Carmine Infantino. The book that supposedly started the Silver Age of comics. And Mr. Rockfish 01, if that ain't history, I don't know what is history. So you could want that book for the historic impact that that book had on all comic books, all comic book collectors, all readers, all art viewers, people that view the art, hell, people that love to fart. You wanted it for the historic significance. So there's so many different reasons why you should get that Holy Grail, that book that you sought after, that book that you really want, that book that you've dreamed about all your life of having. And that book, let me tell you, fans, let me tell you, brothers, let me tell you, sisters, let me tell you, friends, that book is within your reach. How could it be in your reach? The book is so expensive. The character's so scarce. The historic significance of me having the book is undeniably important to not only myself, but to my inner self, to my wants, to my needs, to everything you need. Big shout out right there. That's what it's all about. When you preach the truth, God supplies all your needs. And that's $5 right there. So if you get Dean, my brother, Dean Guthrie, $20. So that's $25. And you know what that's all about? That's all about believing not only in yourself. Vince, $15. This is insanity. I don't know what's going on right now. This ain't playing. My hands are free. I'm not clicking a button for that to pop up on the screen. I'm just letting you know the truth. 35, 40. That's about $40. The great legend has been given. That is a gift from God. That is also a gift from those three brothers. Vince, Dutrank, my brother Dean Guthrie. That is 20 plus 15 plus 5. That's $40. God bless you, brothers. That's what it's all about. Well, it's not all about that, but it's all about delivering the message of positivity to let you know that your Holy Grail is within reach. Vincent Rodriguez. Oh, said his last name. I love you, Semper Fi. I'm so glad you're watching tonight, man. It's good to see Semper Fi. Because if you watch Semper Fi, then you will get some of the same truth you getting right here. Because with Semper Fi, oh, testify. Semper Fi is in the house. My boy Dutrank, the man who saw something in me, got me started on this YouTube phenomenon. This YouTube adventure started with my brother Dustin from Tennessee. The man, Dutrank. Dean Guthrie, he's been here with me the whole way. Dean Guthrie has donated $100 so far. My main man, Dean Guthrie. So God bless all of y'all for these donations. And that's the thing. I mean, I believe if you give, you will receive. So when you make these videos, you know, you can show comic books. You know, you can say, this is Miss Marvel #1. This is Miss Marvel #1 right here. I'm glad to have it in my collection. Glad to have it in my collection. I was telling Reputate 728 today on Facebook Messenger. What does that do? What does that do? What does that do for me? I got this book. All right, right now, this book right here, I'm going to make it famous. I don't even know who writes this book, but this book's going to get famous right now, live on the Great Legend Show. The Black Crown the Black Crown preview with a dude wearing the Jack Gallagher trunks and wrestling boots without the Jack Gallagher mustache. Jack Gallagher. The Black Crown. I'm glad to have this book in my collection. I just threw that book. Hopefully I didn't knock any statues over. But yeah, okay, so you got that book in your collection. I'm glad to have that book in my collection. Well, for a viewer, what does that do for me? That doesn't really do a damn thing. Oh, nice book. Thumbs up. Congratulations, brother. That doesn't really do crap for me. I want to know the significance of that book. Why do you got that book in your collection? I want to know a story. I want to be entertained because I want to come back to your channel. But after seeing that book and old Miss Marvel over there, no, over there, because my boys are over there. Miss Marvel's over there. By the way, that Miss Marvel is going to be going on eBay pretty soon. But what I'm trying to say is, what's the significance of that book? Is that your Holy Grail? Why is that your Holy Grail? Do you got something for Carol Danvers? Let's check the chat real quick. Testify, Semper Fi was there. Dutrank in the house. Dean Guthrie. Hey, that book looks familiar. Haha, good. It's in a good home. Actually, Dutrank, I sold your copy because yours was a high grade. But I bought that copy, and I don't even know. I got a great deal on it from Captain Cold Comics on Legends live auction. So Duck Rank, if you want a 5.0, I'll send you one. But let me tell you something about Holy Grails. Your Holy Grail is still out there. Your Holy Grail is within your reach. So that is the message. Now, your Holy Grail is only within your reach as keyword as long as you believe. And I'm not talking about Bo Dallas, but you have to believe that you will one day own that book. Showcase number 4, back to Reaper Tate. I talked to Reaper Tate because a lot of times, if you're going to make a big boy purchase, a comic book, a big boy purchase, we call them big boys. Big boy, actually, this would have been a Big Daddy. See, we got big boy. Big boys is your books that are 4 figures. I call 4-figure books big boy books. 5 figures, I call them Big Daddy books. 6-figure books, I call Big Granddaddy books or Big Pappy. Big Pappy books. Those are your 6-figure books. Your 7-figure books, well, I don't know much about that Action Comics number 1, so I ain't going to go there. But I was talking to Reaper Tate about Showcase number 4. It was 5-figure. I ain't going to lie to you. I ain't going to sugarcoat nothing because Legend's telling the truth. And the book was 5. No, yeah. Yeah, it was a 5-figure book. Showcase number 4. First appearance of Barry Allen. Now, that book, that's a Big Daddy book, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. So I worked the guy down, but it was going to be a lot of money, and I wasn't going to be left with a lot of money. And I talked to Reaper about it. Reaper says, you know what? If you can't get it right now, there ain't no harm in waiting for that book. Because I kind of was back and forth on the book. I was like, well, this book's kind of pricey. It's kind of high. I don't know if I want to do it. I don't know if I want to live or die by the book that I got the look from with the streaks coming out behind Barry's ass. I mean, Barry's backside, whatever. Carmine Streaks, baby. That's famous. That was like the Streaks, man. That's why they call him the Streak in the show, right? It was because Carmine, you remember? Infantino Street? Yeah, I don't know if y'all saw that Easter egg or not. But I mean, it was a Big Daddy book. 5 figures. So, you know what's, if you're going to make a purchase or do a Holy Grail and you're not sure with it, you know, go to some of your friends in the comic book community and, you know, they'll give you a little pep talk, you know, hopefully, you know, Reaper Tate being the collector he is, he kind of let me know, hey, you know, you might want to slow it down and rethink your what you're doing here. This is a Big Daddy book. This is 5 figures, you know. So, you know, by talking it out, I thought to myself, okay, I'm not going to get that Big Daddy book. And I'm glad I didn't, because I purchased another Big Daddy book. That is actually a character that I love. So by talking it out, and it's not even a Holy Grail book of mine. I'm going to show you some Holy Grails in a minute, but it's a Big Daddy book. It was an it's not real. Well, I guess you could say it's an investment book. I mean, hell, a 5-figure book is an investment book, you know. But it was a book that was on my top 10 list, my top 2017 list, and I worked the guy down a couple of 4-figure numbers. I won't give you the legit details, because you know I shouldn't be floating the money around. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying God has blessed me with some funds, and God can bless you the same way. Okay? I'm not talking the Hulk Hogan, you know, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, exercise every day, and all that. But, you know, it can happen as long as you believe. And some of these books that I've gotten off my top 10 of the 2017 list, they're coming in the next few weeks. You know how it goes. Sometimes it takes a while for shipping and all that. But those books are now a part of my reality because I had patience, is one thing, and I believed. Mr. Gretzky 9966, giving him a shout out because I informed that man he was interested in buying some books and getting this, getting that. And I was like, hey, fella, just like Reaper Tate told me, I shared the message with my buddy Matt, aka Mr. Gretzky 9966. He's here in the chat. I said, bro, just have some patience. And it will, and you'll soon have those books you desire in your reality. You'll get those books. Vincenzo C., I have a little boy budget. I have a twinkle in my eye books, as Nalby says. Simplify says, yep. I think I paid $20 for that at Howard the Duck. Oop. A little mine was better than a 5. Yeah, there's some good action going in the chat, baby. Good action going in the chat. Big shout out to the host with the most of All About Comics, Undisputed Frost. He has his Holy Grail, I believe, the Albedo #2, first appearance of Usagi Jimbo. A lot of us have our Holy Grails, and for the folks that don't have their Holy Grails, like I said, your time hasn't come yet, but it will come as long as you believe, because your Holy Grail's within your reach. Naobi, the Naobi comic, LP, Rebel Gaming, Rebel Comics and Gaming, Rebel Gaming, Rebel Comics, Rebel Gaming, Rebel Comics, calling Dr. Howard, Dr. Fine, Dr. Howard. His Holy Grail is something he actually wrote. His own comic. He created his own comic. Very freaking cool. So you can get your Holy Grail in numerous ways. You just have to have that patience. You just have to believe. Now, a lot of you want to know what my Holy Grails are. I'm going to show you my top 3 Holy Grails. I love each of these books equally. I'm glad I have them in my collection, right? But you want to know why they're in my collection. And I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to show you the first book. The first book I'm going to show you is an independent publisher. It's by a publishing company known as Jubilee Publishing, 1949. There was a guy named Norman Moore. He was married to a lovely lady named Joan Moore. Now, when Joan brought Norman home, her name was Joan Howard. When Joan brought Norman home, she didn't tell him who her dad was or anything about her family, because she didn't want to run the guy off. This guy was a artist. He did art. He did comic books, cartoon art. And so he comes home, or he goes to Joan's house, and he saw this guy open the door, and he's like, "Oh my God, you never told me your dad. Your dad is Mo Howard of the Three Stooges?" So Norman was amazed. This is Mo Howard. Of course, Mo Howard loved gardening. He loved barbecuing. He loved hooking, doing the hooking whatever rugs, doing a little art with rugs. It was Mo Howard, man. And he was amazed. And pretty soon, Norman fell in love with Joan, and they got married, and Norman became the manager of the Three Stooges. And Norman did something that a lot of other folks were doing, and he decided to create a comic book starring those 3 guys that he was managing. And in 1949, through Jubilee Publishing, February of 1949, we have a Norman Moore cover art and stories. We have interior art by Joe Kubert. And this is one of my Holy Grails. This is Three Stooges #1. This is the very first Three Stooges comic book. When I was a kid, I went to my dad's public library, really close to where he worked, and there was a public library on the same road that he worked, and we went to this public library, and I saw this awesome book in there. I was a big fan of the Three Stooges. I loved watching the Three Stooges. They played them on AMC. They also played them when I was an elementary school kid. They played them in the mornings, and I loved watching the Three Stooges. I also loved watching this one-eyed sailor, King Features Syndicate, representing Popeye the Sailor Man. And I love that stuff. I was watching that early morning before I'd go to elementary school. But I really loved the Three Stooges. And when I saw this book in the Three Stooges scrapbook, I checked out the Three Stooges scrapbook, read that thing, flipped through all the pages, loved that book. I saw this comic book. It's got this infinity cover. As you see, they're selling comics at a comic stand, and the comic they're selling is the comic you're seeing right now. This is Mo, Larry, and Curly's first appearance, in comics. And it's a very cool book. It's I don't know if it's a highly sought after book. I mean, if you're a Three Stooges fan, you'd really want to have this in your collection. Currently on my top 10 list for 2017, I'm looking for issue #2. It has Curly, Mo, Larry, Curly, and Curly is in a gorilla suit. Very rare book, very hard to find book, but I'm looking for that one. And after these two issues, Jubilee Publishing changed into St. John Publishing, and they had Mo, Larry, and Shemp. I'm trying to collect that full run as well because I'm just a huge Three Stooges fan. So in this case, I'm a fan of the characters. I'm a fan of the characters. Now, having Norman Moore do the artwork on the cover and the writing, that is historical significance. This is Hippies Collectibles says, and Tom knows, Hippie says this is a hard book to find. If you're into the CGC and the census and the registry, even though this is CBCS, just you go to that CGC registry, you'll only find 10 copies of this book, maybe 11, but 10 to 11 copies of this book that's graded in the whole world on the CGC spectrum. Now, CBCS, they don't have a registry yet, so one of these days, if they ever do, we'll see what they have here. I don't know. Maybe they say they don't have a registry because they don't know what they've graded and they don't track of it. I'm pretty sure they do, but you never really know. So I love this book. And big shout outs to Hippies Collectibles. Amazing Fantasy number 15 will be his one day. And I truly believe it will because Hippies Collectibles Tom, he's been collecting a really long time and I think he's almost done with his whole amazing Spider-Man collection. And to top it off, get that amazing 15, and that's going to be his Spider-Man collection. And one thing is, just like y'all believe in me to deliver some good content here on this channel and to show the truth, I believe that one day your Holy Grail is within your reach. And that's the first Holy Grail I want to show you. Now, I'm eager to see if CBCS ever does get their registry. I'm eager to see how many of these books the CBCS has in their registry. So that's one of my Holy Grails. Now, in my collection, like many of your collections, I have a lot of books that could be or would be considered Holy Grails. I've got a lot of those. A lot of you like the Silver Surfer and One Day, Fantastic Four, number 48. I had to kind of count them because 50, Johnny Goes to College, that's 50. I'm not flicking you off, that's my ring finger. Johnny Goes to College is 50. 49 is the middle, and then 48. A lot of y'all love Silver Surfer. Some of you love Hal Jordan, Showcase 22. That may be your Holy Grail. Okay. Some may love Venom. Amazing Spider-Man 300 would be your Holy Grail. ASM 361. A lot of you love Carnage. Superfast says ASM 361, Carnage. That could be your Holy Grail. A huge high-grade Marvel Premiere 15. Now, is that Sabretooth or Iron Fist? I want to say it's Iron Fist. Oh, yeah, that's right, Duck Rank. I should know that. You love Iron Fist. ASM, all done. Tom Hippies Collector says his ASM is all done. So now he's just looking for that last grail, which is Amazing Fantasy number 15. And SS, you are seeing Simplify. Oh, testify. Cat Daddy is in the chat room. I don't know what he has more of. More comics or more cats. All right. So the next book I want to show you. Oh, yeah. And this book right here, let me tell you about this book. This book, for me, it was a culmination of a lot of things. This book for me, though, seeing it in junior high in that scrapbook, that's when I rented the book. But throughout the years watching the Three Stooges, I've wanted this book for a long time. And funny thing about this, I don't like giving prices away. I got this for three digits. Or this would be not even a big boy book. This would be, like Vincenzo says, a twinkle in the eye book. Sellersville had a live auction on eBay. No one bidded on this. Opening bid, $100. Got it for 105. I bidded 105, and that was all she wrote. I mean, I guess God was with me when God must have been with me on this thing. So very blessed to have that in my collection. And I hope that story I told you about the Three Stooges and my love and passion for the Three Stooges as kind of giving you a little insight of why I have that and why I call that a holy grail for my collection. And a lot of you know out there that I'm a huge Fantastic Four fan. Even before I got into comic books, I used to watch the old Fantastic Four television show. And when Thing punched that wall down and said, "It's clobbering time," I fell in love with that superhero team. I mean, they were freaking awesome. And when I went to Lone Star Comics in 1991 with my good friend Joseph Todd Walker, sorry I gave your full name, bro, but I went in there and he said, because up until then I'd only gotten a couple of Spider-Man comics. I wasn't really big into it yet. It was 91, and I'd only gotten that Spider-Man comic, I guess, back in '89. It was the one. It was called. It was a Todd McFarlane cover. Main Event. I can't remember the number. It had Whiplash, Rhino, and Gargan, the Scorpion on there. And it was like a main event battle. That was my first Spider-Man book I ever got. But anyway, so I go into Lone Star, and I asked Todd, I was like, "Is that team? Is there a comic book of the team where the four superheroes, the Stretch guy, the Rock guy, my favorite guy, the Fire guy, and the Invisible guy, or Invisible girls on there?" He said, "Yeah, that's the Fantastic Four." And I was like, "That's right. That's the name of that group. I want to see if they have that book because I love watching that." So that's kind of how I got into the Fantastic Four. And of course, I got my issue 167 at that time and read the hell out of that, and I just kept going back for more and more of the Fantastic Four. And over the years and over the years and over the years, I was able to complete, like Hippie's Collectibles in his Amazing Spider-Man collection, I was able to collect every issue of the Fantastic Four. Now, I'm missing some of the variants and the Whitman variants and some of the Price variants. I'm not too worried about Price variants, but I do want to get the cover variants and things like that because I really want all the Fantastic Four books, right? But I knew that if I believed, I knew that if I had patience, that one day I would own this book, you know, and one day I did. 5.5, Fantastic Four, #1. The book that started the Marvel Age. This book, again, they're my favorite characters. And there is some historic significance to this book. This is the book that started the Marvel Age. Stan the Man and Jack the King Kirby, working on all those big time monster kind of books in the 50s, late 50s. They said, well, we'll try this whole superhero gig. We'll do what the Carmine Infantino is doing, trying to revitalize some of the characters from the Golden Age. We'll do the same thing, but we'll throw a big ass monster in the middle of the book just in case we need it, and we can always fall back on a scary monster story. But they didn't have to. They took four people, unlike, emphasizing characters that wore the costumes, put the costumes on, and you primarily see the people with the costumes. We got a more in-depth look of the people under the costumes, the people under the powers, everyday people like you and myself, going to work, living our life, doing our thing, whether it be good or whether it be strife. And we got the Fantastic Four. I've got a great video on my channel. It's "What Does the Marvel Age Mean to Me?" And I encourage everyone to check it out. But a lot of these characters from the Marvel Age, and when I say Marvel Age, I'm talking about the Silver Age of Marvel Comics, whether it be Matt Murdock, Peter Parker, Bruce Banner, Fantastic Four, that doctor named Donald Blake, Iron Man, Hank Pym. All these characters were just normal characters, but bestowed upon them were powers that would change their lives forever. But these stories that Stan wrote aren't all just about it's clobbering time, punching people. It is about the characters and the people behind their superpowers. It's kind of like LP, the father of Niobe, on his Niobe comic book. It's not all about just Niobe, it's about Niobe living her life with these newly discovered powers. How does she cope with using her powers? That is LP pretty much taking the Marvel Age books that he grew up with reading and putting it in his own image or his own book. And that's pretty special right there. Of course, you can see I got Stan the Man's signature on there coming out of the beast right there. This book, I'm happy to have it in my collection. And the reason I have it in my collection is I believed in my passion. I believed in this team. I believed in the Fantastic Four, and I believe the Fantastic Four. Not only did I find the Fantastic Four, but the Fantastic Four found me through a Saturday morning cartoon, which failed. It failed into comparison with the '90s X-Men or the Batman animated adventures. But another book, I growing up, so young, my Holy Grail as a kid, or getting into the comic book collecting was actually Fantastic Four number 12, where the Fantastic Four encountered the Incredible Hulk for the first time. That book is freaking awesome. And one of these days I want to upgrade my copy of that book. Maybe, possibly. But Fantastic Four number 1, it was a dream of mine to own that book and collect that book, and I believed, and that dream came true. So again, your Holy Grail is within your reach. Curse of Man, bro. Oh, I love Curse of Man. Tony, nice. That's awesome, Rob. Rubber Man for the win. Tony always called him Rubber Man. Rubber Man for the win, brother. Rubber Man for the win. Now, Semper Fi will hopefully be at us live tomorrow. I'm giving y'all that. If y'all don't have high definition and you can't see what's in the chat, then you know Legend's going to tell you where it's at, and it's all about my main man, Semper Fi. And you're right, the Fantastic Four was a family, and later down the line, you had Marv Wolfman writing that Fantastic Four comic book, and when Marvel dicked him around, he went over to DC, and he had a little love with the George Perez, and he made the Teen Titans, and a lot of the Teen Titans stories, finally, it took him a couple of decades, but I don't want to say a couple, maybe one. But finally, DC got to get a little bit of that twink, a little bit of that spark. What makes the team click is the people underneath the costumes and is those cohesive relationships. The Teen Titans were born. And Teen Titans is a pretty impressive team today. Now, Kyle Walker, he says his other Holy Grail book is the 2000 AD PROG, The Two First Judge Dredd. That's his book. Big shout out to Reaper Tate 728. My bro is finally here. I talk to him usually every other day, and he's an important member of this comic book community, as is everyone else. And a future video, I'm actually going to be talking not only about diversity in comics. You always hear Vincenzo C. brings it up a lot in his videos. He talks truth about a lot of these SJWs, people getting hurt because social media, people voice their opinions about these comic books, and a lot of the creators, you got like Rob Liefeld and Tinian the Fourth, or whatever his name is, they get upset that the fans voicing their opinions on social media about books, out letting some of their frustration about their favorite comics, like as many voice their opinions on their favorite professional wrestlers. A lot of people don't like Roman Reigns. They're going to voice their opinion about Roman Reigns. So we won't, in a future video, we won't talk necessarily about diversity in comics, but we'll talk about diversity in the comic book community and how everyone collects different things. And everyone collects the same things, and how we can make all of that go together into an epic video of mega proportions and learn something from people's likes, their dislikes, and what they collect, which is going to be an awesome video. No one steal my title. Diversity in the comic book community, or diversity within comic book collectors. Vincenzo says, my real grails were my favorite comics I had as a grade school kid. I'm reacquiring those. None are key books. And that's right. Holy Grails don't have to be key books. They can be anything that you like. and anything you love, like the great Tom, ooh, I almost said your last name, but like the great Hippies Collectibles, collect what you like, love what you collect. And a lot of the comic book community today, I think they grew up, it's kind of like growing up watching The Twilight Zone with Rod, I'm going to say Rod Sterling, because Vinny C from my original reality, pre-Mandela effect, it was Rod Sterling, not this stupid Serling without the T. But as kids, we loved watching Tales from the Crypt. We loved watching Tales from the Dark Side. We loved watching Alfred Hitchcock Presents. We loved watching Boris Karloff come at us live with his little scary stories. Monsters, Friday the 13th, a series. Some of that was some of the stuff we liked. And now, as adults, we can go back and appreciate the things we liked as kids and love what we originally liked. Like Reaper Tate 728, one of his favorite pastimes is getting some of these old EC comic books. And he's gotten some of those books, you know. Originally, these books are very scarce. They're very hard to find. They're hard to find in any grade. And Reaper Tate 728, because he believed that these books could one day be his. Well, let me tell you, if you watch his latest video, you'll know the Vault of Horror book he has is his. So as long as he believed, as long as he had that patience, he was able to acquire that book. Now, is that book one of his Holy Grails? I don't know. But it is one of his favorite comics. My last book I want to show you before I get into the last final part of the message about your Holy Grails within your reach is a book on the way, 91, on the way to school. I went to a private Christian school through 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. My dad worked in the same town that this school was at, and we always talk, to and from school. And I was getting into comic books, and he talked about him and his buddy, old Morris Minton. They loved reading Mad magazine. And the very first Mad magazine, I've seen it on Heritage Auctions many, many a time. And it's a book that is a holy grail to a lot of Mad magazine collectors, a lot of people that read Mad magazine. That is a holy grail for them. And I've always thought about getting him that book, but, nah. It's not that expensive. But anyway, so we talk about characters, and I found out one of his favorite characters. One of his favorite characters, he was born in the 40s, so he read a lot in the late 40s and early 50s. One of his favorite superhero characters he liked to read about wasn't Superman. It wasn't the world's greatest detective. It wasn't Batman. And it wasn't Captain America. Although Captain America was one of his favorites, it wasn't the one that he loved the most. The one that he loved the most was a character that was a kid, just like all the other kids growing up in the late 40s, early 50s. It was just a kid, and when this kid said a magic word, he became the world's mightiest mortal. And I'm talking about a kid named Billy Batson, and I'm talking about the magic word Shazam. He became gangway for Captain Marvel. This is Wiz Comics number 2, the very first appearance of Captain Marvel. Some of you may talk about the new Captain Marvel. Now, I know this is sacrilegious, okay? Very sacrilegious, and I shouldn't be doing this. I'm going to hold this book over here because I don't want the chat to cover it up. But these characters here. Now, this girl went on to become Captain Marvel. You remember Marvel's version of Captain Marvel was the guy that banged his little bracelets together and he became Captain Marvel. Now, if I could go back in time and pimp slap Stan Lee, I would, because this is the original Captain Marvel. This is the original Captain Marvel. Gangway for Captain Marvel, This book in its heyday outsold Superman, Batman, and Captain America. This Whiz Comics usually had about 3 or 4 stories in there. This is also the first appearance of Dr. Savannah, Golden Arrow, Dan Adair, Lance O'Casey, Spy Smasher, and Ibis. Tons of first appearances in here. A lot of Fawcett publications first appearances are in this book. This is a book me and my dad talked about a lot. I watched the show on Saturday mornings. That show was kind of cheesy, but the story was way better than the show. And I fell in love with this character. I didn't appreciate the character right away, in 91, 92, 93, 94, around the end of 94, pre-95. 95, I was a senior in high school. And I kind of stopped. That's when I stopped collecting and didn't start collecting back in probably till 2001. And then I stopped a little more and I started recollecting again 2011. But I've always loved this character. Well, cool thing, like I said before, this book outsold those other books, and what they decided to do, people just wanted more and more and more Captain Marvel. They gave Captain Marvel his own book, Captain Marvel Adventures, which were like all Captain Marvel stories, and that's how popular this book was. Now, the other books followed suit. Detective Comics. Well, they may have had Detective. I don't want to say follow suit like copied, but regardless, Detective Comics, Batman made Detective Comics famous, so they gave Batman his own book. Superman in Action Comics, they gave Superman his own book. Those may have come out before Captain Marvel Adventures, but to let you know the truth, this guy right here outsold those other ones. So that's Wiz Comics Wiz Comics number 2, because number 1 was known as Thrill Comics and Flash Comics, which was an Ashcan edition, which we could talk about that at a future date if we decide to go over, the Captain Marvel collection, stuff like that. If you want to have a whole video about Captain Marvel, aka Shazam, we can do that. Oh, and representing Black Adam right there on my shirt. But anyway, there it is. Beautiful book. And I'm glad to have this one in my collection. This is a book of significant importance in history. This book is one of my favorite characters. Did I buy this book for monetary? Not really. It was an expensive book. It was a big boy book, but I got a great deal on it. Partly it's restored 7.5, but it's professionally restored, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful book. Just beautiful, stunning, stunning book. Okay. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you that your Holy Grail is within your reach. Let me tell you something on that book right there. A lot of love, and I hope I'm getting this right because it's been a long time, and I should remember this. But a good YouTuber that's been with me for a long time, his name's Mask Marvel. He let me know that book was on eBay, and I got on eBay and I talked to the seller, a good old Chris Schwartz. I'll let you know his name because he's in the back of all of your Overstreet price guides. Chris Schwartz from San Diego. I worked him down a little on it. Still 5 figures, but I worked him down on it. And he wanted me to promise him that I would give the book a good home. And I says, brother, I'll give that a good home. I'll give it as good of a home as I've given my own 2 children. I'll take care of that book for the rest of my life, and future generations will take care of that book the rest of their lives. Chris Schwartz was getting more into original artwork, so he was moving some of his big boys out of his collection, and I was lucky enough to get that one from him. Look him up, Chris Schwartz. True story. San Diego, in the back of the Overstreet Price Guide. He's an Overstreet Price Guide advisor. So just a kind of funny story about that. So tonight you've seen my 3 most coveted Holy Grail books. And I want y'all all to know that if you have that patience, if you have that love, you've got that desire, those books can be yours as well because your Holy Grail's within your reach. But the thing about it is, first off, you've got to believe that one day, you will own that Holy Grail. Like Hippies Collectibles in the chat said, Amazing Fantasy 15 is his Holy Grail, and one day that Holy Grail will be his. I want to give you the definition real quick of Grail. The definition of Grail. I'm going to give you, it's for this still, I looked it up on Google. I just typed in Grail definition. And the second one, we're going to talk about the second one right now. Grail, noun, a thing that is being earnestly pursued or sought after. Grail, let me say that again. A thing that is being earnestly pursued or sought after. So, this is a book that may have historic significance. It may be your favorite character. You may want the book because it's worth a lot of money and you think that it would just be cool to say, look what I got! Woo! For bragging rights, I guess. I hope you wouldn't do that, but to each their own. There's many reasons why a book is sought after. Maybe it's not even something big like that. Maybe it's just like, say, X-Men number 12. You've got X-Men 1 through 11, and you want to get number 12, to kind of finish off a whole year's worth of X-Men books. And you want to get Juggernaut's first appearance. Or you just like Juggernaut beating the crap out of people. But it could be anything. Anything could be a Holy Grail. It could be a 1 in 1,000 variant. Wow, that would be pretty awesome. A 1 in 1,000 variant. It's not a Holy Grail, but it's a really cool book. It's the Skeletor variant from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe #1. Oh, sweet book. That could be a Holy Grail. Like a He-Man fan may want that as a Holy Grail. Or it could be He-Man's first appearance in comics. That DC Presents book. And it has He-Man and Skeletor with Superman on the cover. That could be the Holy Grail. But something that is earnestly pursued or sought after. I want to talk a little bit now. I want to kind of shift that thing, and I want you to know that still your Holy Grail is within your reach. I want to give you another definition, quick, of Grail. It says, in medieval legend, the cup or platter used by Jesus at the Last Supper in which Joseph of Arimathea received Christ's blood at the cross. Quest for it, undertaken by medieval knights, are described in versions of the Arthurian legends written from the early 13th century onward. So the cup that Jesus used at the Last Supper and the cup that Joseph of Arimathea caught some blood, when the Roman soldiers, jacked up Jesus in the side with that spear of destiny and the blood came out of Jesus, Joseph of Arimathea caught that blood into the cup, the grail that he used during the Last Supper. To many medieval knights back in the 13th century, that was their Holy Grail. Now, why was that their Holy Grail? Well, many believed that blood, you've seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, many of those men believed, and women. There were some women in there looking for the cup as well, like that German girl, the Last Crusade movie, and she was good looking, but she was German. Just saying. Nazis and all. But that blood, that cup, whoever drinketh from that cup would have everlasting life. They wouldn't die. They would be like immortal. They would live forever. And like old Connery said, only the penitent man will pass. Well, we have to kind of look at it like that when we're trying to get our Holy Grail. I do believe that you need to be a penitent man. Only the penitent man will pass. Okay? The penitent man. I'm going to look up all those because I kind of forgot all of the little deals there. I don't know if I can find it. I don't really know my Indiana Jones that well. But you remember, he had to cross that invisible bridge. Remember that? Let's see. So the breath of God, the word of God, and the path of God. Remember all of those three tests he had to do? The breath of God, the word of God, the path of God. You can look at that in your quest for your Holy Grail. What I want you to do is have patience. You want to take a deep breath. Second, you want to read. You want the history. You want the word of the comic book you're looking for. What's that story? What does that story mean to you? What does that story mean to your heart? Why do you want that book? Is it the story or is it the art? And the path you're going to take to get to that book. Set your goals. Line everything up like you're putting the blocks together on Tetris. Clear all your hurdles on out. But you got the breath, you got the word, you got the path. And like the breath of God, the word of God, the path of God, if you do those three tests, not only will you have your holy grails within your reach, your holy grail being your comic book that you want, but let me tell you about another holy grail right there. I want to read from this book real quick. Okay? And we're going to talk about that holy grail. Matthew chapter 26, verse 26. This is what it's all about. The Lord's Supper. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, "Take, eat. This is my body." And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, "Drink ye all of it. For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remissions of sins. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's." So, and as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, "Take, eat. This is my body." And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, "Drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until the day when I drink it new with you in my Father's." You know, a lot of us can talk about holy grails and our quest, like the Knights of the 13th century. We can talk about these holy grails in comic books. We can talk about these holy grails and statues, art, whatever your vice is, whatever you collect, whatever you feel that's important, whatever you feel that if you want something, if you want that book, or if you want that green money, or you want, you know, all of these things. Verily I say unto you, you can get all these things. You can fill your heart. You can fill your mind. But there's one thing you can't fill with a comic book. Can't fill the soul with a comic book, because believing in a comic book alone, your soul ain't going upstairs. Your soul will go downstairs. So, if you want, it's cool. Wiz Comics, #2, first appearance, Captain Marvel. Fantastic Four, #1, cool. Three Stooges, Glad to have it in my collection. Your Holy Grail's within reach, but let me tell you, all of those cost quite a lot of money. But there's one Holy Grail that doesn't cost a thing. They were looking for that cup many years. I don't know if they ever found it. I know Indiana Jones found it and then it fell in between the crack, So a lot of people have been looking for not only their comic Holy Grail, but the cup that Jesus shared with his disciples at the Last Supper that they drank out of. And Jesus told them, for this cup that you drink, you believe. The New Testament says, if you believe and you believe in this blood that Jesus shed for you, you will have eternal life. That book, it says it all in a couple of different areas about the Last Supper and how, the bread that he broke and he shared with his disciples, the blood that he passed around and everyone drank. Those things, he wanted to let them know that, look, this is here. This is now. You don't have to wait till the future. You don't have to have patience. Okay? All you have to have for this is the belief. You believe in Jesus Christ and you will be saved. And you don't have to wait for your Holy Grail book. I'm sure you can find this anywhere. You go to a hotel room, the Gideons pass out this book with the Psalms and Proverbs from David and the New Testament. You can read this book. You could read this Grail. Doesn't have very many pictures unless you count the maps and coordinates in the back. But if you read the story and you put your belief in the man they call Jesus, the one that God sent down to save us all from all of that sin, sent his own son to die on the cross, to shed his blood so that blood can wash away all the darkness in your heart and all the darkness in your soul and all the darkness in your mind. To wash all of that away so you can become clean, not with Amazing Fantasy 15 or Chew #1 or Walking Dead #1 or Kamala issue Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel 15, Kamala Khan variant. You don't have to wait for all of those because you can get the best Grail right here, right now. If you have one of these books, you turn to John 3:16, you read that verse, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, for whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. You can take that to the bank, and you can take that to your death. But here's the thing, you won't die, because when you close those eyes and you take your last breath from this earth, you will awake in heaven with the Lord Jesus Christ. So I've told you, your Holy Grail is within reach. And those comic books, the things you're looking for in life, those are within your reach if you believe. But the greatest Holy Grail that's mentioned in this book right here, that is within your reach right now. And it's free. All you got to do is, okay? And that's pretty much the message tonight. Your Holy Grail is within your reach. And I just want you to know, those 3 comic books mean a lot to me. But Jesus Christ, beaten in my heart through the Holy Spirit, that means a lot more. Let's check the chat one last time, and we are going to be heading out for the night, brother. Here we go. We got a lot of great folks, and All the chat is hopping. I want to kind of go back in time on the rewind and give love to all the folks that have been here tonight here on the Great Legend Show. We got Rebel Gaming, Vincenzo C, Who Dat Comics and Movies, Mr. Gretzky 9966, SS Comic Reader, Mr. Rockfish, Naobi Comic, The Uncanny, Kyle Walker, Rice Boy, Dean Guthrie, Simplify Comic Guy, Undisputed Frost, Uncanny Kyle Walker, Dut Rank, Reaper Tate 728, Stephen Oates, Hippies Collectibles. Thank y'all so much. Rice Boy, did I say Rice Boy? Trilogy's Comic Corner, Andrew Gutierrez. I want to thank y'all so much for watching The Great Legend tonight on The Great Legend Show. And to let you know, whether you're looking for comics or something bigger, something better, Jesus Christ, He's waiting for you. He's waiting for you. All you got to do is believe, because your Holy Grail is within your fans. Thank you so much. I love y'all so much. Y'all are awesome. This is The Great Legend saying peace out. God bless.